Are you still mad about the barbarian nerfs? Was your vision always like that? Let me clear your vision and let me show you a complete different way to play your barbarian. Yes, in this video we're gonna talk about the Thorns Barbarian, and not the usual Thorns Barbarian you already know, Thorns Bleed. We're gonna talk about the basic skill Thorns Barbarian. Let's dive right into the build. First of all, we're gonna put 5 points into Lunging Strike, and we're gonna take the extensions, the Enhanced Lunging Strike and the Combat Lunging Strike. Combat Lunging Strike gives us 1.5 seconds of berserking for every crit with Lunging Strike. That means we need a lot of critical strike chance to get continuous berserking with this build. We completely ignore core skills and go straight into your defense abilities. Here we're gonna go into Imposing Presence with additional 15% maximum life. On top of that, we take Outburst for more thorns. And after that, we're gonna take Tough as Nails for even more thorns. We're also gonna use the Challenging Shout. Here we just use 1 point after the nerf. It is not really useful to put more points into this ability at the moment. And we're gonna take the enhancements, the Enhanced Challenging Shout, and also the Strategic Challenging Shout for even more thorns. After that, we're gonna go into our brawling skills. Here we're gonna use the War Cry. We put all 5 points in there, and also the Enhanced War Cry, and on top of it, the Power War Cry. That gives us a lot of damage boost for our thorns and also for our basic ability. We're also gonna use the Booming Voice, which extends the duration of our shouts. And we're also gonna use Raid Leader, which gives our shouts the ability to heal our character for 3% of its maximum life, which is pretty good. At the moment, I also put 2 points into Swiftness, which gives me 8% movement speed. I think movement speed is pretty important in this game. On top of that, we're gonna take Aggressive Resistance, which gives our berserking, when it is active, 9% more damage negation for our character, which is pretty cool. And we need a lot of defense. In the Weapon Mastery skill tree, we're gonna use the Pit Fighter to get 9% increased damage against close enemies and 6% damage reduction from distant enemies. After that, we're gonna take No Mercy, which gives us 9% critical strike chance against immobilized, stunned, or slowed enemies. And we're gonna slow enemies with the ability Hamstring, and we're just gonna put 1 point in there. While an enemy is bleeding, they are slowed by 10%, and the bleeding is actually triggered by Tough as Nails, and this synergizes pretty well with each other to slow enemies and to get the critical strike chance against your enemies. After that, we're gonna grab Steel Grasp, which is pretty cool to drag in enemies from a distance, to get vulnerable for 2.5 seconds, and also trigger a berserking effect. We are also gonna take Thick Skin, Defensive Stance, and Counter Offensive, which gives us Fortify. Our Fortify reduces our damage we take even more. And on top of that, with 50% Fortify, we're gonna get 12% more damage. In our ultimate skills, we have at the moment Wrath of the Berserker. This will change according to the game. If you have a lot of critical strike chance and you're able to perform a lot of critical launching strikes, which gives you automatically berserking, you might want to change this skill against something else, and I'm gonna come back to this in a second. In our key passive, we're gonna take the ability Unconstrained. This increases our berserk's maximum duration by 5 seconds and gives us also 25% more damage from berserking. That means we get basically 50% more damage from berserking. If you're gonna reach a high amount of critical strike chance and Wrath of the Berserker kinda gets useless, you are able to use abilities like Iron Skin or maybe Rattling Cry. And then you might want to take out those 2 swiftness points and put them also into these abilities. So let's talk about gear. The first important part about this build is getting basic skill damage. This perk rolls on all your weapon slots. This will increase the damage of your Launching Strike, and this is pretty important against bosses and world bosses. So let's talk about legendary aspect. The first one you want to get on your two-handed weapon is Rapid Aspect. It basically gives you a flat attack speed bonus to your basic skills. The next one would be Aspect of Inner Calm. This gives you a damage boost for every second you stand still, up to 30%. Since we use Lunging Strike, we do not need to move between enemies. We can just teleport to them with Lunging Strike, which is pretty good. So this aspect kind of works for this ability pretty well. The next one is Aspect of Might. Basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 2 seconds. Since we're going to use our basic skill all the time, that's perfect for us. We're going to get more damage negation. So let's talk about our Thorns aspects. The first one is Needle Flare aspect. This basically makes your Thorns explode like hell and completely delete your screen. The next aspect would be a Deathwish aspect. I put this on my necklace because it gets 50% increase. And this gives you a Thorns value while you have Berserking. Since we have Berserking nearly all the time, this is perfect for us. So let's talk about legendary powers which support our build a little bit more. The first one is your shout skills reduce their cooldown for every nearby enemy hit up to 6 seconds. This thing got nerfed, but it still has a lot of value for our build. The next legendary power is Aspect of Numbing Wrath. That gives me basically 45 for every fury I generated while at maximum fury. Later on, I plan to use Iron Skin, and with this, I want to use the aspect of Iron Warrior. Iron Skin grants Unstoppable and also a 10% damage reduction. This is basically the trade-off from the Wrath of the Berserker, the Unstoppable effect, which is pretty important. And with this, we're gonna get the Unstoppable effect through Iron Skin, which is pretty cool. For gems, you want to use Emeralds in your gear and Topaz in your weapons. Emerald basically gives you more Thorns, and Topaz gives you basic skill damage. In terms of stats of your gear, you kind of want to have Thorns as much as possible. As far as I know, you can get Thorns on chest, your pants, and also your necklace. So look out for those. You also kind of want to have a lot of critical strike chance as much as possible for your Lunging Strike. Obviously, things like damage negation comes in handy, basic skill damage comes in handy, and damage while berserking. Berserking is literally all the time active, so you kind of want to get also a little bit berserking damage out of it. So that's all about the build. I hope you enjoyed this. Watch my stream for further updates, and have a great time.